hey, mathematicians, Justin here. My community service club is putting together care packages for our local animal shelter. I'm trying to figure out how much we can afford to spend on toys for the puppies and kittens for their new owners. Can you help me out? Here are the details. The Community Service Club raised exactly $100 for this project, and we want to make 10 identical care packages, as well as a $25 donation for cleaning supplies. In each care package, we're going to include one leash, which costs $3, and 2 toys. The question is, how much can we afford to spend on each toy? You came in when I was setting up the equation earlier. Here's what I have so far. I decided my variable will be X, and it represents the price of one toy. Each care package has one leash that costs $3 and 2 toys that cost X dollars, which would be 1 times 3 plus 2 times X altogether. 3 times 1 is 3, so that simplifies to 3 plus 2X. But we have 10 care packages to make, each with the same items, so we can multiply all of that by 10 using parentheses. Then we add the one-time donation for cleaning supplies, which is $25, so it's now 10 times the quantity, 3 plus 2x, then add 25. To make it an equation, it needs to equal something. What's the total? $100, equal to what we raised. So I need to solve this equation for x. How would you solve this equation? It's lengthy, but you already know all the steps to solve it. Give it a chance and see what you come up with.
Let me show you how I did it, and we'll see whether we got the same answer. I'm going to use our checklist for solving equations. First up, what's happening to the variable? Well, the x is being multiplied by 2, but it's also within the set of parentheses being added with 3 and multiplied by 10. And there's plus 25. Whew, that's a lot. Seems like it'd be easier to figure that out if we simplified things, huh? And what do you know? That's step 2A in our checklist. So we'll simplify the left side of the equation by distributing and combining like terms. What's the first step to simplifying this side of the equation? Distribution. Since the 10 is directly in front of the parentheses, we multiply 10 by the 2 terms inside to distribute. That's 10 times 3 and 10 times 2x. That gives us 30 plus 20x. Then we add the 25 onto the end, and don't forget to rewrite equals 100. Are we done simplifying the left side? 30 and 25 are both plain old regular numbers, so they're like terms. Since they're on the same side of the equal sign, we don't use inverse operations when combining them, and we don't do this on both sides of the equal sign. We work from left to right, so we'll do 30 plus 25, which is 55. Now that both sides are simplified, we have 20x plus 55 equals 100. Or you could have written it as 55 plus 20x. The order of those terms doesn't matter. Hey, I recognize this. It's just a regular 2-step equation now. We've solved a ton of these. You take it from here. Let's see how we did. I started by subtracting 55 from both sides, which leaves us with 20x equals 45. What's the opposite of multiplying by 20? Dividing by 20. 45 divided by 20 is 2.25. So we have x equals 2.25. We check our work using substitution. We plug 2.25 in place of x in our original equation and do the math. Yep, 100 equals 100. Since x represents the cost of one toy, that means we can spend $2.25 on each toy for the animal shelter.
So, to solve a longer equation that involved distribution, we had to simplify each side of the equation before using inverse operations to isolate the variable. And simplifying one side might mean using the distributive property and combining like terms. But be aware, you won't have to use every step of this checklist for every equation. Just check to see whether you do need to do each step as you go through each problem. Some equations will require you to simplify before using inverses, and some won't.
It's time for some example problems. Solve for n using inverse operations. -3 equals 15 over n minus 2. How would you describe what's happening to the variable? Well, the n is being subtracted by 2, but 15 is also being divided by it after it's been subtracted by 2. It might be tempting to think the first step is adding 2 to both sides. However, that 2 is in the denominator of a fraction, and 15 is being divided by it, so we can't touch it yet. In fact, we can't do anything with the denominator of a fraction if it has a variable in it. The only thing we can do is separate the fraction. So let's do that. Currently, 15 is being divided by n minus 2. What's the inverse of division? Multiplication, right. To separate the fraction, what should we do? Multiply both sides by n, by 2, or by n minus 2? We have to keep all the parts of the denominator together, so we multiply both sides by the entire denominator, n minus 2. We put it in parentheses to keep it together, like this. So on the right, n minus 2 on the bottom of the fraction cancels out when it's multiplied by the grouping of n minus 2. On the left, what's n minus 2 times -3? Well, I'm not sure yet. Let's write it out. We rearrange so the parentheses come second, like this. There we go. That looks much more familiar. We'll simplify the left side using the distributive property. -3 times n is -3n, and -3 times -2 is +6. So our next line is -3n plus 6 equals 15. You solve it from here. Don't forget to check your work. Pause and compare your work with mine. Let's do these last two using what we just practiced. No rush, use your checklist of steps, and substitute at the end to check your answers. Here's my work, compare it to yours. If you didn't get it right, find any mistakes and correct them in your guided notes.
Wow, we've made so much progress in our equation skills today. Not only can we now handle multi-step equations that have more than 2 steps, but we can also deal with equations with distribution. Go ahead and finish up your guided notes, then keep practicing with levels 1 and 2. Until next time, keep questioning, keep calculating, and remember, simplify each side before using inverse operations. See you next time.
Hey, hey.